Okay, hello and good afternoon everyone, and welcome to the Sofco Suite webinar. My name is Jonathan Ogg and I'm a senior consultant with Sofco, and I'll be taking you through this afternoon's webinar. This afternoon I'm going to give you an introduction to the Sofco Suite in terms of technology, in terms of functionality, user experience, and I'm going to intersperse this with some software demonstrations looking at aspects of sales and operations planning, demand planning, and supply planning. Okay, so first thing we'd like to talk about a little bit is the technology of software. So just looking at the 5 images here, you can see multiple browsers. We support all of the main browsers. You can access the system through desktop, laptop, tablet, phone, so multiple device. We believe it has outstanding performance. It sits on a unified database for the whole suite, and it is deployed on the cloud, and the cloud can be the cloud of your choice. I've got some examples on screen, and Sofco, we tend to deploy it if it's our cloud using Microsoft Azure. But the whole point here is that the technology means that for individual users, depending on the role, they can use the type of device to interact with the system that is most suitable for their role, or if you have preferences over browsers, then you can choose. In terms of functionality, Sofco are an end-to-end supply chain planning software vendor. We don't do anything transactional like sales order processing or purchase order processing or accounts. We purely do planning, and by end-to-end we mean from demand planning through supply planning, including production, DRP, inventory and materials requirements planning, down to production scheduling. We cover multiple time horizons, which can be short-term, medium and long-term, including in that, of course, sales and operations planning, integrated business planning. We have additional add-ons to our core modules, things like promotion management for people in CPG industries. And we cover as well multiple verticals in terms of types of business. Most of our customers fall into either consumer packaged goods, general manufacturing, or specialist retailers who have supply chain solutions for forecasting, distribution, and store replenishment and purchasing. In there as well, you can see some of the sort of high-level functions in each of the modules, and within supply planning as well, I draw your attention to DDMRP, or demand-driven materials requirement planning, and ATP CTP, which is available to promise and capable to promise. In terms of the user experience, I think what users are mainly interested in is performance of the system, ease of navigation. They want simple screens which are easy to understand, and with quality information, and the ability to communicate as well. So in here, some of these boxes cover this area. So insights is something where the system gives you information and insights to parameters, adjustments. I'll talk about this a little later in relation to machine learning. They want to understand the plan results, and they want the plan results developed quickly. And in terms of understanding, they want this in plain English as well. So if a production order is planned on a particular line, why on that line? Why not there? So we have things called algorithm logic explorers, which I will cover slightly later. We also planners want focus on resolving the most important exceptions, whether that be forecast accuracy, stockouts, capacity, and they want to be able to easily navigate to the detail of those exceptions so that they can resolve them. And they want to be able to collaborate with other people, which can include workflow, and they want analysis in terms of dashboards, and we offer Office integration and Power BI integration as well. Now, in terms of machine learning, the sofco approach is, we call it hyperparameterization, and the point is that we want to have a system that isn't a black box that the user doesn't understand but provides insights. So there are a whole range of different parameters in the sofco system, and you can see some examples here from a forecasting perspective at the bottom left. And if I just click on from a supply planning perspective, where these parameters can be examined and where the system can look at those parameters and the settings at the time and then compare those with actuals. So this could be actual sales for accuracy, could be user adjustments in forecast, could be throughput rates coming from shop floor data capture systems, and where the system learns from how those parameters influence the actuals and then recommend insights. So they display alongside current parameter values so that suggestions can be made to the users for improvements in parameter settings. They can then run scenarios on those insights in terms of settings and compare the results with the current plan and decide, do they want to update those parameters or not? So it is still under the control of the users. Use the word multi quite a bit with sofco. So it is multi-device browser, we've mentioned already. System comes in multiple languages as well. So if you are based in a given country or region, or if you're a global organization where different languages are used in different regions around the world. We integrate with multiple ERP systems. This is just a sample of some of those systems, but wherever we go, we have to integrate with some kind of ERP, data warehouse, or other system of records to get data. We have a different size deployments among our existing customers. Our smallest customer has 1 user, and our largest customer has 3-figure sum located on 5 different continents. I mentioned earlier we deal with different verticals in terms of customers, so CPG, specialty retail, manufacturing. So we have to be able to model their businesses, and the sofco system is highly configurable. So we can configure the dimensions and the product hierarchies to match the structure of each of our individual customers. Customers want to see plans in multiple units of measure. If the plan is financialized in multiple currencies, if they are a global organization, and depending on the process, require multiple algorithms through the forecasting, supply planning, and scheduling processes. And throughout the system, we have the capability to have scenarios where we generate single or multiple simulations, run comparisons on dashboards, and then either discard or deploy those scenarios. And you can see some examples in terms of forecasts and in terms of production planning at the bottom on the right hand side. Okay, at this point, I'll do an introduction to the software. So I'll come out of PowerPoint and we'll move into sofco. So I've opened up a browser already and I've logged in. So I've logged in with Google Chrome, but we support Edge, Safari, Firefox, other browsers. I'm based in England, as you've probably gathered, and my language is English, but if I want to change to a different language, it's just a matter of selecting that language from the drop-down box, and then the user works in the language of their choice. But each user has a profile, and the language is defaulted for each individual profile, so you don't have to do this if you're not English. You'll get your native language, and that user profile determines authority in the system. It determines what data you have access to, and as well, it can be mean you can maybe only read or write or view data. In terms of going into the system, we call these the tiles, so you can see the different modules. I haven't got scheduling turned on today, so if I click on scheduling, it tells me, oh, you're not authorized, but these are the capabilities, and for more information, contact Sofco. I'll go into the demand planning tile, and when I go in, the first thing you can see is, in fact, I'll blow this up to full screen. You can see as well, while I've gone into demand planning, I can also see the supply planning tab, demand planning, and others, because once I'm in at this level, I can access all of the modules I'm authorized to. I don't have to keep going up to the top. The top right hand side, you can see some little red lights flashing. These are where, if we're using workflow, the workflow messages appear, or any system notifications appear. At the bottom, we can see recent dashboards that we've visited and when, and all the way through the system, we have this audit trail of who has done what in terms of changing data, accessing screens, in terms of who, when, and time. What I'll do now is, here are the main dashboards for demand planning and supply planning. I'm going to go into the first of the forecasting dashboards, which is a high-level S&OP dashboard, which will give me information on progress year to date, plans for year to go, and variances with the budget. And you can see a number of things on here. So we have cards at the top, and these are color coded, red, amber, green, with some high level KPI information. We have tables on the left hand side, on the bottom right, and charts. This chart is connected to this table down here, and what we've got here is information relating to budgets, demand, gap between demand and budget, risk, opportunities, year to date, year to go, total, and the same for last year for comparison. The table below is exactly the same information, but is at a more detailed level, showing different product categories. And this is displayed in the graph. If I want to manipulate the graph and see less information, for instance, if I want to remove budget and last year and just look at the mix in the categories, I can do that dynamically. I can use the scroll bar on my mouse to enlarge elements of the graph, or just drag certain things about. When I hover, I can see the data, or if I just want to reset it again, in fact, or if I just want to see fresh bakery, for instance, I can lose the others and just see that in comparison, or I can reset the graph back to where I started and pop everything back on again. Okay. Right, when I'm in the table at the bottom left, I'm in categories, but if I want to then drill down to lower level, so if I'm interested in fresh bakery, my largest category, I can drill down. That will take me to the different product categories. The chart dynamically updates in line with that. I can drill lower, should I wish, into blonde breads, individual products, and does make the chart a little bit more detailed, to say the least, but I can reset that as well, should I wish. Reset the drill down. Okay, I'm looking in the product dimension at the minute, and I can switch to the market. And just before I do that, actually, I'll mention these two tables. Top 10 products, top 10 customers, ranked, and where there is red, it means they've moved. So here, for instance, Netto was number 5 last month and is number 8 this month. So again, key performance indicators. I'll shift from the product dimension to the market. I can now see exactly the same information, but now I can see it by customer categories, retail and wholesale. Again, I can drill in and I can now see major retail, drill down to individual customers. I might want to make some comments about a customer. So if I right click, I can put text in here. Tesco, I've got a potential new opportunity. I can write text about this, new products, and apply all of my text, add that. That is date stamped and type stamped, time stamped. Other people can see it. If I close this down now, you can see as well, there's a little white box and it tells me that that text is available. Okay. Also from here, I can drill further if I can drill to the detail of the budget. So if I go back to the retail level, for instance, in fact, I'll go to major retail and I want to look at the budget on a period by period basis and how that is faring to the demand plan. I can right click and navigate to the budget details screen. So here, same information, but this time major retail spread out into monthly time buckets. And underneath that, I can see the individual customers that belong to major retail. And if I right click to the navigation table, I can select any of the customers that I want to, see the table update and look at that and make adjustments, in this case to the risks, to the opportunities. But it's a principle throughout the system, the right click navigation, so that you can follow a particular chain through the system. Okay. So what I'll do now as well, I'll just spend a minute looking at the forecasting within the system, just at a slightly lower level of detail. So here I'm in one of the statistical forecasting screens, and I mentioned we work by exception a lot. So I'm going to open up the navigation table and you can have predefined filters that show exceptions, but I'm just going to do some filtering on the fly. So here are all my products. I've got 159 of them. I'm forecasting, but I want to start just looking at my category A products because they're most important. And I want to start off looking at my regular selling products. I want to look at the forecasts that the system thinks are statistically the worst. So I will go to statistical maybe. I'll right click, I'll click on it and it will sort them in order. And then I can access that product straight away. And I can see all of my historical detail in terms of actual sales, in terms of cleaning, in terms of outliers, in terms of cleaning overrides, and then I can see the forecast going forwards. I can see the statistical maybe, I can make adjustments, and I can see what that forecast looks like in the chart. So it's quite busy here. We can see there's a range of seasonal peaks. I'll just remove last year and the year before, and we can see here the historical, the cleaning that's gone on, and the projected forecast going forward. And if I want to, I can make any cleaning adjustments. From here, I can re-execute the cleaning algorithm. Equally as well, I can execute the forecasting algorithm as well after any adjustments from this point, just for that product. I don't need to reforecast everything, so this can work dynamically. And if I make all of my adjustments and I'm happy with them at the end, I can go back and I can mark this product as reviewed. And as you can see, it holds a date stamp and a date stamp of when this product was last reviewed. So if I want to just review products that haven't been reviewed recently, then I can select only the blanks and my list reduces accordingly. Okay, from this screen as well, I can go and look at a more detailed screen in terms of forecast collaboration. So this could be an account manager sitting with a demand planner, for instance, where we're looking at the forecast for the whole product. But in this case, we can drill down again. And we can see that this product is sold to booths, and there's a second one here and to customer CC. And here we can make collaborative adjustments. We can enter in, for instance, planned event quantities. We can give that event a type as well, 25% off. There can be a status that that event is confirmed, and save that. Again, we can hold comments against this. See the various adjustments. The total forecast is updated to include the statistical and the event. And if I go back up and drill back up to the level above, you can see that the event has been aggregated into the forecast overall. So different account managers working on the same product can put their events and adjustments in, and the aggregates overall. Now that's this collaboration as well. There can be collaboration with people outside of your organization. So if I just go back to slides for a moment, obviously I'm working in a cloud application, and you have people who you collaborate with inside your world, account managers, external sales, people working remotely, people in different functions within the business. But equally, there are plenty of examples where organizations collaborate with outside customers, suppliers, subcontractors. So on the demand side, this could be sharing and agreeing forecasts. It could be internally signing off events with a sales director. It could be incoming customer forecasts that need review on the supply side. It could be publishing plans, production plans to vendors for supply, changes to inbound supply. So the system can be used in a collaborative way, and as well with the workflow, notifications can be included in this, such as approvals, such as notifications that forecasts are ready to be reviewed, or supply plans are ready to be reviewed as part of the S&OP process. And this is a rules-based workflow system, and that we would typically deploy on a project by project basis. So we've looked at the software so far in terms of the demand side. What I'd like to do as well is take a little bit of a look at the supply planning side as well, but in this case, again, sorry, we will do it in respect of starting off with an S&OP screen, and then we'll look at some more detailed levels. So if I go back to my workbench, and I'll go to the supply planning tab, and we'll go to the S&OP overview. I'll not go through this as much as I did with the demand planning. As you can see, the feel is very similar. We've got cards, tables and charts. At the top, I've got the summary year to date, year to go. But this time we've got the budget and how it is against the demand, but also we've got our production actual plan and our production hours budget and Production Plan. So we can start comparing, for instance, the hours here. Particularly, we can see the variances using the conditional formatting, and we can see the different product categories. And again, as previously, I can drill down, so I'll pick on the fresh bakery again, and you can see the different levels here. Now, in terms of the charts, they're slightly different. Here we've got a demand stability chart. I know for certain supply planners, because I used to be one, don't like volatile demand. And here we can monitor how much the forecast is changing from the last forecast, and we can see where we are with the budget. We can see our production volumes period by period. And we can see that in line with the budget, the overall budget volume, and in the background there's inventory as well, although it's limited, because as you can see it's a bakery business. We can see a global view of all of our plants, of the load in terms of production, in terms of time being spent set up, and in relation to our budget capacity, but as well we've actually got it set higher at the moment. The saturation as well of the factories, or the utilization, how busy are they? Got two plants, one in England, one in Scotland, and we can see the levels of saturation going forward. Now, as well on the budget as with the demand, if we wanted to go to the budget details, I'll pick blonde bread again, right click, navigate. And this carries forward the production budget for blonde bread, and you can see what we've done year to date in grey and looking forwards. And we can see production actual in cost of goods sold here and in hours, and then underneath are all of the individual products that contribute to the blonde breads category. In terms of capacity, I'll go to the capacity dashboard next. So this is just a more detailed view. If you remember, we had a chart in the previous dashboard. This time we're looking at individual plants. So I can see here the England plant, the Scotland plant, period by period, the planned workload, the numbers, the setup time, the total workload, capacity, percentage of time being set up, and saturation. And I've got the same in terms of the labour requirements for this factory as well. And as you can see, they're both expressed in charts below, and I can drill in to these individual plants. So here, for instance, the UK plant is broken out into bulk lines and into packing lines. I can drill further into the packing lines and get the information. I can see here each individual line starting at the top, pack line 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. I'll go back to the top level. And again, from this point, if I want to go to some of the detailed resource planning, I can. So if I go to the England plant, if I right click, then I can navigate to resource planning. And what I'll do is in there, I'm going to pick pack line 1. And here I go to a lower level of detail. So here I can see how many standard shifts, how many additional shifts, standard hours in total, any additional hours that I can add in or take off, efficiency, giving me total capacity, what is the planned workload going forwards, how much of that will be setup time, total workload, what capacity is remaining, and the saturation. At this level as well, I can drill in and I can make adjustments within individual weeks to add shifts or add hours or amend the efficiency. So I've started right at the top level in terms of the S&OP and come down through different levels of detail, both in the products and in the resources, so I can work and view at the detailed level and also at the higher level. Okay. Come back to software for a moment. I just want to talk about supply planning and planning in a little bit more detail, and then we'll have a final session in the software. One of the things that we have in software is a pre-planning dashboard. So we always have to integrate with other systems, whether that's SAP, whether it's JDE or other systems. And when we're importing data, we've always checked for the integrity of the data, i.e. does it have referential integrity? You know, if someone sends me an inventory file, does that product exist? Do all of the products exist in the product file? But we've introduced pre-planning dashboards because we don't want to just have data with good integrity and data that is valid. We want to have good quality data, because if we have good quality data, we can get on with producing a good quality plan. Whereas if you've got some valid data that is poor quality, you do the plan and you realize the plan is poor, you realize it's the data, you go back and have to fix it. And we just want to get it right first time. So we have introduced pre-planning dashboards, and from a demand planning perspective here, you can see some of the things that we check. So orphan records in hierarchies, for instance, missing data, for example, unit of measure conversions, sales order processing keying errors. Somebody's put 1 or 2 zeros on the end by accident. From a supply planning point of view, negative inventory records, open purchase orders with negative or residual values. What's one which can be a real problem, incompatible lot sizing in SKUs in the same bill of materials at different levels. Creation, maintenance of routings, missing routings. So all of this is to make sure that we get straight on with producing a good quality plan, and instead of wondering why the plan isn't good and realizing it's poor quality data. In terms of supply planning, and again, this is production planning, distribution planning, materials planning, inventory planning. We have a range of algorithms within the system. One of the ones we use most is the FPA, a finite planning algorithm, because we can plan with finite capacity constraints or infinite constraints, and constraints can be capacity, they can be materials, and there can also be a range of rules in the system as well. And with the algorithms, there's a lot going on with algorithms when you consider demand, stock, material supplies, rules, constraints, and the calculation logic and steps required in what can be very complex supply chains. And what the planners want is, firstly, they want this to plan quickly and easily. They want it to have simple parameters that they can understand, and they as well want to understand the results of the plan. So one of the things we feel is important is the actual transparent results within the system. So we have the algorithm logic explorer. So they want this in plain language as well. So if we think of the different steps the system goes through to generate those plans, they want the answers in plain language. So if there is a problem, if it's infeasible, well, why is it infeasible? Is it a lack of capacity? Why is it short? Is it infeasible due to material shortages? If it is feasible, why has the system planned this product on that line when surely wouldn't it use the other line? So what we've introduced is the algorithm results logic explorer, where we give details on that, so on what the order is, why it's in that particular bucket, what rules are being used, what is the reason. So here, higher priorities orders have consumed capacity. It should have been on line 1, it's been planned on line 2. So we'll have another look at some software, at this time in the more detailed level in terms of the supply planning, and I'll go to the KPIs dashboard. I've mentioned exceptions a few times. So here we've got a range of dashboards. So here, product exceptions, for instance, capacity shortages, material shortages, stockouts, understocks, resource exceptions, over or undersaturated, other information, production adherence captured from the shop floor data capture systems, and as well insights as well. I mentioned this earlier into planning parameters. So here, for instance, I've searched on lot sizing insights. Products here, we've got a product here with a minimum lot of 250. But what the system is saying is the minimum lot is greater than the overall annual demand. Therefore, it's recommending that you reduce the lot size to 100 and an annual lot size of a demand of 138 cases. Yet you make this, you're making over a year's stock. Go and review that lot size to something below that level. Just want to focus on the planning unit exceptions particularly. So here we can see the current exceptions. So on stockouts, I've got 2 out of 863 products. Last month I only had 1. The month before I had none. So slight increase in issues. But these 2, I want to go and have a look at them. So I can right click and navigate to the planning unit screen, and what this will show me is the detail of just the 2 exceptions. So it's displayed 1 here, and if I right click, I can go to the navigation table, and there is the other product there for me to look at, and I can click on that and view that one. But let's stick with the first one on screen. So on screen here, it gives me really all of the information I need in terms of the product, in terms of its bill of materials and bill of resource. So if I have problems at multiple levels, I can see them. It shows me the demand and supply situation in a chart and in a table. Here I'm at the top level with my parent product, and you notice this in the exceptions explorer, this is red. So my problem is at this level with this product, but equally at the same time, if it was lower down, I can navigate to all of the products in my bills of materials. So if there are any exceptions there, I can get to them. In the lower window, I've got the resources that are used. So here I can get to the packing line, driving the packing. Sorry, that was the packaging material, the packing line, or further up, the bulk lines that drive the semi-finished product. But what I want to do is focus on the exception at the top level at the moment. So here I can see all of my demand information going forwards in terms of customer forecasts, unconfirmed customer orders, my total demand. This will include dependent demand if I am lower down the bill of materials, my safety stocks, my planned coverage, safety stock levels, opening stock, open supply orders, what the system is suggesting I plan, what I lock manually, and closing stocks. And I'm at the period level, but again, I can go into the weeks, as you can see here, and I can see now that my stock out problem is in week 31. So what is causing that stock out problem? So to see that, I can right click here and open up the exceptions, and here it gives me some detail or some diagnosis on that exception. Firstly, it says there's a shortage of capacity on pack line 1, and as a result the quantity of 1256 was planned late at a later date in week 32, whereas I'm in week 31. It's also saying if I want to fix that capacity problem, I need at least another 1.498 hours on that pack line to meet that shortage. And as you know already from that, I can get to that pack line at the bottom here because it's included in my bill of resource and material, so I can make that adjustment there. Or separately, if I wanted to know as well information on an individual production order, so if I look at the following week here, 1254, algorithm logic explorer. So here I can see the product, the SKU, the production order number, the scheduling rule. In this case, the scheduling rule is backwards, which means I'm trying to make it as late as possible rather than as soon as possible. I'm advancing or anticipating production by time first, and then by routing, which means by alternate line or resource. I can see it was required in bucket 31, but it's planned in bucket 32 because there's no remaining capacity in bucket 31. So that's the reason for this delay, because there could have been other reasons. It could have been a material shortage, for instance, down at a lower level of the bill of materials. So the point is the system is doing this complex calculation for me and then telling me the logic of why it has arrived at the plan it has arrived, and then I can make my adjustments. And it's planned it on the default line. Sorry, the default line is pack line 1. It's planned it on pack line 1 because either there's obviously no capacity available before the date, but as well, if there are alternate lines, then they are not available either. Right, go back to PowerPoint. Right, so over the last 3/4 of an hour, hopefully you've had that introduction to the sofco suite. You've had the introduction to the technology in terms of that it's suitable for different users in different roles. They can use mobile devices. You can use the browsers that you want to use. The system is deployed on the cloud. You've looked at the functionality, both in terms of the overview of the end-to-end supply chain, but we've done a dive as well into some of the modules. So you've seen sales and operations planning, you've seen forecasting in terms of statistical forecast generation, you've seen KPIs, you've seen collaboration. A collaboration screen from supply planning, again S&OP, capacity planning, dealing with exceptions as well, and the user experience. Hopefully you've seen the ease of navigation, the information and quality of information on screens, and as well I've talked about the machine learning, and you've seen where some of the insights are displayed in the system. So hopefully that's been of help and of interest to you. I'll finish here, but please, if you've got any questions, post them online and we'll get back to you, or if not, please feel free to contact Sofco directly and we can be in touch and answer any questions that you have. So thank you very much for your time.